Security Protocols, Level 7. Everyone to your stations, now. Commander Vex-9 bellowed through the ship-wide communication system. His four tentacle-like appendages flailed wildly as he paced across the command bridge of the Galactic Coalition flagship, the Eternal Vigilance. This is not a drill, you incompetent space barnacles. The massive warship hummed with frantic activity as crew members of 17 different species rushed to their assigned positions. Red warning lights pulsed rhythmically, casting an ominous glow across the sleek metallic surfaces of the vessel. Status report, Vex-9 demanded, glaring at his second-in-command with all three of his bulbous eyes. Lieutenant Krill adjusted her breathing apparatus and scrolled through the holographic display. The human vessel has been captured, Commander. Their communication systems have been jammed, and our boarding parties report minimal resistance. Minimal resistance? Vex-9 scoffed, a cloud of purple vapor escaping from his respiratory vents. From humans? That's about as believable as a Zorblaxian with a sense of humor. It's true, sir, Krill insisted. The human crew surrendered almost immediately. Vex-9 narrowed his central eye suspiciously. In his 327 cycles of military service, he had never known humans to surrender without a fight. The species had a well-deserved reputation for being stubborn, unpredictable, and annoyingly resilient. I don't like it, he muttered, scratching one of his sensory nodes. This smells like a trap. And not the good kind of trap, like the ones we set for those delicious space rodents on Proxima Centauri. Perhaps they recognize the futility of resistance, suggested Officer Ploon from his monitoring station. Our vessel outguns theirs by a factor of 12.6. Humans don't care about odds, Vex-9 replied dismissively. They are the only species I know that gets more motivated when you tell them something is impossible. No, something else is going on here. The doors to the bridge slid open with a soft hiss, and Captain Morg entered, his imposing 7-foot frame filling the doorway. Everyone immediately stood at attention or the closest approximation their various physiologies would allow. At ease, Captain Morg said, his voice surprisingly soft for a being of his size. Report. Commander Vex-9 quickly summarized the situation, emphasizing his suspicions about the humans' easy surrender. Captain Morg listened intently, his expression unreadable behind the specialized atmospheric mask that covered the lower half of his face, a necessity for his methane-based respiratory system. Your concerns are noted, Commander, Captain Morg said after a moment of contemplation. But the High Council's orders are clear. We are to capture the human diplomatic vessel and detain its occupants for questioning regarding their alleged espionage activities. With all due respect, Captain, Vex-9 replied, his skin shifting to a deeper shade of blue to indicate his discomfort. Humans are tricky. They have been known to sacrifice small advantages to gain larger ones. You have been watching too many human entertainment broadcasts, Commander, Captain Morg said, a hint of amusement in his voice. They are not the master strategists our propaganda makes them out to be. They are just another species trying to expand their influence in a galaxy that's already claimed. So were the Arcturians, Vex-9 muttered under his breath, until they infiltrated 3 major coalition worlds and nearly toppled the Galactic Senate. The Arcturians had shape-shifting abilities, Lieutenant Krill pointed out. Humans are just humans. Pink, squishy, and fragile. Bring the prisoners to Interrogation Chamber 1, Captain Morg ordered, ignoring the exchange. I want to question them personally. Yes, Captain, Commander Vex-9 replied, tapping instructions into his wrist console. Security team is already escorting them aboard. Interrogation Chamber 1 was a marvel of intimidating architecture. The walls were lined with a special alloy that blocked psychic emanations. The ceiling featured an array of sensors that could detect micro-changes in body temperature and hormone levels, and the floor could be electrified to various degrees of discomfort if persuasion became necessary. Not that Captain Morg was a proponent of such methods. In his extensive career, he had found that understanding cultural nuances and psychological pressure points was far more effective than crude physical intimidation. The 6 human prisoners were brought in, their hands bound with energy restraints that adapted to prevent escape based on the specific physiology of the wearer. They were arranged on one side of the large interrogation table, facing the wall-mounted recording devices. Captain Morg studied them carefully, 5 males and 1 female, all wearing the simple blue uniforms of the Earth Diplomatic Corps. They appeared calm, too calm for beings who had just been forcibly captured by a military vessel belonging to a potentially hostile power. "I am Captain Morg of the Galactic Coalition flagship Eternal Vigilance," he began, speaking in perfect English. "Your vessel has been impounded under Section 47B of the Galactic Treaty, which prohibits espionage activities against Coalition member worlds." The humans exchanged glances but remained silent. "You don't seem surprised," Morg observed. One of the humans, a tall male with short gray hair and a weathered face, shrugged. "Hard to be surprised when you are expecting something, Captain." Commander Vex-9, who stood near the door with his hand resting on his sidearm, bristled at the human's casual tone. "You will address the captain with proper respect, human." "Sure thing, tentacle face," the human replied with a smirk. "Proper respect coming right up." Before Vex-9 could respond to this blatant disrespect, Captain Morg raised a hand to silence him. "You were expecting to be captured?" Morg asked, focusing on the more pertinent part of the human's statement. "Well, not in so many words," the gray-haired human replied. "But when you send a diplomatic vessel into Coalition space without proper clearance, you are kind of asking for trouble, aren't you?" "Your vessel was detected employing active scanning technology near the Betelgeuse military installation," Morg stated. "That goes well beyond diplomatic overreach." The human female, who had been quietly observing the exchange, spoke up. "We were mapping spatial anomalies for a joint research project. Your military installation just happened to be in the same sector. A convenient coincidence," Commander Vex-9 remarked sarcastically. "The universe is full of them," she replied with a shrug. "Like the coincidence that your patrol ship was waiting exactly where we were scheduled to conduct our research." Captain Morg narrowed his eyes. "Are you suggesting you were set up?" "I'm not suggesting anything," the woman said, leaning back in her chair as far as her restraints would allow. "Just making an observation." There was something about these humans that bothered Captain Morg. They weren't displaying the expected range of stress responses. Their heart rates were elevated but not significantly, their pupil dilation was minimal, and their skin conductivity levels were within normal parameters for their species. Either they were exceptionally well trained, or they knew something he didn't. "Your names," Morg demanded, deciding to start with basic information. The gray-haired man spoke first. "Jack Turner, Chief Diplomatic Officer." The others followed suit. Monica Patel, Xenobiologist. Tom Rivera, Communications Specialist. Darren Anderson, Navigation Officer. Peter Wilson, Security Chief. The last human, a younger man with a remarkably unremarkable face, hesitated for just a fraction of a second before saying, "Alex Jones, Cultural Liaison." Commander Vex-9 noticed the hesitation. "You don't sound certain of your own name, human." Alex Jones smiled blandly. "Just trying to decide whether to use my full name or not. Alexander Mercer Jones, if you want to be formal about it." Vex-9 wasn't convinced, but Captain Morg moved the interrogation forward. "Your vessel's data logs indicate you have visited 3 other restricted zones in Coalition space over the past standard month. You care to explain that?" "Not particularly," Jack Turner replied, his expression neutral. "But I suspect you will insist, so here goes. We have been conducting a systematic survey of gravitational microfractures along the borders of human and Coalition space. It's all authorized under Appendix C of the Proxima Accords." "The Proxima Accords don't grant access to military installations," Morg countered. "They do if the military installations were built after the survey was approved," Monica Patel interjected. "Check the timestamps, Captain. Our flight plan was registered with the Galactic Registry 42 days ago. Your Betelgeuse facility began construction 38 days ago." Captain Morg frowned. "If true, this could complicate matters." The Coalition prided itself on following the letter of interstellar law, even when dealing with non-member species like humans. "We will verify your claims," he said finally. "In the meantime, you will be held in the detention block." As the humans were led away, Commander Vex-9 approached his captain. "Permission to speak freely, sir?" "Granted. Something's not right with these humans. They are too composed, too prepared with their answers." Captain Morg nodded slowly. "I agree. Their story about the survey mission might check out, but there's more happening here. Have their vessel thoroughly searched and assign our best analysts to go through their databanks." "Already in progress, sir," Vex-9 replied. "And what about the prisoners?" "Separate them," Morg ordered. "I want individual interrogation starting in 2 hours. And keep a special eye on the one called Alex Jones. His bio readings were slightly different from the others." "Different how?" "His autonomic responses showed micro-fluctuations during specific questions, the kind of control you see in beings who have undergone advanced psychological conditioning." Commander Vex-9's skin rippled with concern. "A trained operative?" "Possibly," Captain Morg said thoughtfully. "Or something else entirely." In the detention block, the 6 humans were placed in individual cells designed to accommodate a wide variety of species. The cells were comfortable but secure, with force fields instead of physical barriers and constant monitoring from multiple sensor types. Officer Ploon, now assigned to detention duty, watched the humans through the monitoring system. Unlike Commander Vex-9, Ploon found humans fascinating rather than suspicious. Their adaptability and creativity were remarkable for such a young species. One of the humans, the one called Alex Jones, sat perfectly still on his cell's sleeping platform, eyes closed, breathing regulated. The others paced, examined their surroundings, or attempted to communicate with the guards, but Jones remained motionless. "What's he doing?" asked Greel, a junior security officer who had never encountered humans before. "Meditating, I think," Ploon replied. "It's a human practice for mental focus and stress management. Should we stop him?" Ploon flicked his sensory tentacles dismissively. "Stop him from sitting quietly? On what grounds?" "I heard humans can do weird things with their minds," Greel said nervously. "Mind control and such." "That's just propaganda," Ploon assured him. "Humans have no psychic abilities. They are actually one of the few sentient species with almost no extrasensory perception." Suddenly, the overhead lights flickered briefly. "What was that?" Greel asked, his dorsal spines rising in alarm. "Probably nothing," Ploon replied, though he quickly checked the system diagnostics. "Everything reads normal. Might be the engineering team running tests on the human vessel's technology." In his cell, Alex Jones opened his eyes and smiled slightly before resuming his meditative pose. Captain Morg stood on the bridge, reviewing the preliminary analysis of the human vessel's databanks. The information seemed to support their story about a scientific survey, but there were encrypted sections that the Coalition's best decryption algorithms were still working to unlock. "Sir," Lieutenant Krill called from her station, "High Command is requesting an update on the human situation." "Tell them we are still investigating," Morg replied. "We will have a full report within 12 hours. "They are being unusually insistent, sir," Krill said, looking uncomfortable. "Admiral Zorn himself is waiting on a secure channel." This was unexpected. Admiral Zorn, the head of Coalition military intelligence, rarely involved himself in routine interception operations. Captain Morg straightened his uniform and moved to the private communication alcove at the rear of the bridge. "Admiral Zorn, this is Captain Morg. I wasn't expecting your personal attention on this matter." The holographic image of Admiral Zorn flickered into existence, a tall, gaunt figure with pale blue skin and elongated features characteristic of the Cenarian species. "Captain, I will be direct. The humans you have detained may be connected to a security breach of the highest order." "A security breach? What kind of breach?" "That's classified, even at your clearance level," Zorn replied curtly. "What I can tell you is that we have reason to believe one or more of them may be carrying information vital to Coalition security." You are to transfer them immediately to the nearest military intelligence facility at Rigel Prime. Captain Morg frowned. With respect, Admiral, my orders from Fleet Command were to interrogate the humans regarding possible espionage and then determine the appropriate course of action based on those findings. Your orders have changed, Zorn said flatly. This comes directly from the High Council. Something about this didn't feel right to Morg. The High Council rarely interfered with operational matters, and the speed of this intervention suggested information he wasn't being given. I will need that in writing, Admiral. Standard protocol for change of primary mission parameters. Zorn's expression hardened. You are questioning a direct order, Captain. I'm following procedure, sir, as you would expect me to do. After a tense moment, Zorn nodded reluctantly. You will have your written orders within the hour. But I expect those humans on their way to Rigel Prime immediately afterward. Is that clear? Perfectly clear, Admiral. As the communication ended, Captain Morg remained in the alcove, troubled by the exchange. In 22 years of service, he had never known Admiral Zorn to be so personally invested in a group of human prisoners. What could they possibly have that would warrant such high-level attention? Commander Vex-9 approached, noticing his captain's concerned expression. Bad news, sir? Uncertain news, Morg replied carefully. We are being ordered to transfer the humans to Rigel Prime. Military intelligence wants them. Vex-9's skin darkened with suspicion. That's unusual. Very, Morg agreed. Which is why I want you to accelerate our own interrogation. We have an hour before the official orders arrive. I want to know what makes these humans so special before we hand them over. Yes, sir, Vex-9 replied, clearly pleased with the directive. I will start with the odd one, Alex Jones. Alex Jones sat calmly as Commander Vex-9 entered the interrogation chamber. Unlike the previous session, this was a smaller room with only 2 chairs and a simple table between them. No recording devices were visible, though Jones assumed they were present nonetheless. Comfortable accommodations? Vex-9 asked, his tone making it clear he didn't particularly care about the answer. I have had worse, Jones replied with a shrug. The gravity's a bit strong for my taste, but I'm not complaining. Vex-9 studied the human carefully. There was something off about him, something that didn't quite match the profile of a standard diplomatic corps officer. His posture was too controlled, his gaze too steady. Let's skip the pleasantries, Vex-9 said. You are not a cultural liaison. Jones raised an eyebrow. What makes you say that? Because cultural liaisons talk. A lot. They are eager to share information about their species to build bridges. You have barely spoken since you came aboard. Maybe I'm the strong, silent type. Or maybe you are something else entirely, Vex-9 countered, leaning forward. Something that requires you to observe more than you speak. Jones smiled faintly. You have quite an imagination, Commander. I hope it serves you well in your fiction writing career after you retire from military service. This casual dismissal irritated Vex-9, whose tentacles twitched in annoyance. You think this is amusing? You are facing serious charges of espionage against the Galactic Coalition. Am I? Jones asked, seeming genuinely curious. Because from where I'm sitting, we are a diplomatic vessel that was conducting an approved scientific survey when we were illegally detained by a coalition warship. If anyone should be concerned about charges, Commander, it might be you. Vex-9 slammed a tentacle on the table, the suckers making a wet slapping sound. Enough games. Military intelligence is coming for you and your crew. They seem to think you have information of vital importance. I want to know what it is. For the first time, Jones showed a flicker of genuine emotion, a brief widening of the eyes that might have been surprise or concern. It was gone almost instantly, but Vex-9 had caught it. Military intelligence? Jones repeated, his voice perfectly neutral once more. That seems like overkill for a simple border violation. My thoughts exactly, Vex-9 agreed. which is why I'm wondering what you are not telling us. Jones leaned back in his chair, studying the alien commander with newfound interest. You know, you are sharper than your superiors give you credit for, Commander Vex-9. What's that supposed to mean? It means I think we might have some common ground here, Jones said carefully. We are both being kept in the dark about something important. Vex-9 narrowed his eyes. Are you trying to turn me against my chain of command, human? Not at all, Jones replied smoothly. I'm suggesting that neither of us has the full picture, and that might be dangerous for everyone involved, human and coalition alike. Before Vex-9 could respond, the interrogation room doors slid open and Captain Morg entered. His expression was grave. Commander, you are needed on the bridge immediately. Sir, I'm in the middle of. Now, Commander, Morg insisted, his tone leaving no room for argument. Vex-9 rose reluctantly, giving Jones one last suspicious look before exiting the room. Captain Morg lingered for a moment, studying the human with an unreadable expression. Our conversation has been enlightening, Captain, Jones said quietly. We haven't had a conversation yet, Mr. Jones, Morg replied. Haven't we? Jones asked, a cryptic smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Captain Morg's eyes narrowed slightly before he turned and followed his commander out of the room. On the bridge, chaos reigned. Officers rushed between stations, alarm indicators flashed on multiple screens, and the general atmosphere was one of barely controlled panic. What's happening? Vex-9 demanded as he entered. Lieutenant Krill looked up from her console, her face tentacles pale with stress. We have lost contact with Coalition headquarters. Actually, we have lost contact with everything. The entire communication network is down. How is that possible? Captain Morg asked, joining them. The network has redundancies upon redundancies. Unknown, sir, Krill replied. But it's not just us. Before we lost connection completely, we were receiving reports of similar outages across multiple sectors. A coordinated attack? Vex-9 suggested. Possibly, Morg said grimly. Or a catastrophic system failure. Officer Plume's voice came urgently through the communication system. Captain, we have a situation in the detention block. What kind of situation? Morg demanded. The force fields are failing. We have switched to backup power, but the systems are behaving erratically. It's as if something is interfering with the control mechanisms. Captain Morg and Commander Vex-9 exchanged alarmed glances. Secure the human prisoners physically if necessary, Morg ordered. We can't risk them escaping. Yes, sir, we are trying, but Plume's communication suddenly cut off with a burst of static. Detention block security feed, now. Morg barked. Morg barked. The main view screen switched to show the detention area. The image was intermittent, breaking up with bursts of interference, but it was clear enough to see that the situation had deteriorated rapidly. Several security officers lay unconscious on the floor, while others were engaged in a struggle with the human prisoners, who had somehow freed themselves from their cells. How did they? Vex-9 began, but stopped as the camera angle shifted to show Alex Jones standing perfectly still in the center of the chaos. His eyes closed and his hands extended slightly from his sides. What is he doing? Krill whispered. As they watched, a wave of energy seemed to emanate from the human, visible only as a slight distortion in the air. When it passed over a security panel, the panel sparked and went dark. When it touched a coalition officer, the officer staggered and fell to the ground, apparently unconscious. That's impossible, Vex-9 breathed. Humans don't have psychic abilities. Evidently, this one does, Captain Morg replied, his voice tight with concern. Security teams to the detention block immediately. Use neural disruptors, Setting 3. Setting 3 could kill a human, Krill protested. If that human can do what we just saw, I'm not taking any chances, Morg replied grimly. Commander Vex-9, you are with me. Lieutenant Krill, you have the bridge. Try to restore communications and get us out of here if things go badly. As Captain Morg and Commander Vex-9 hurried toward the detention block, The ship's internal systems began to fail one by one. Lights flickered, doors opened and closed randomly, and the environmental controls fluctuated wildly. "It's as if the ship itself is turning against us," Vex-9 muttered. "Not the ship," Morg corrected, his expression darkening. "Something or someone aboard it." They rounded a corner and nearly collided with a group of the escaped humans, led by Monica Patel and Jack Turner. The humans froze, clearly surprised by the encounter. "Don't move," Vex-9 shouted, drawing his weapon. Instead of complying, Jack Turner smiled a cold, calculating expression that didn't reach his eyes. "I think you will find that's not how this works, Commander." Before either coalition officer could react, something hard struck Captain Morg from behind. As darkness claimed him, the last thing he saw was the face of Alex Jones, looking down at him with an expression that might almost have been regret. "Sleep well, Captain," Jones said softly. "We will talk again soon. Very soon." And with that enigmatic promise, Captain Morg lost consciousness, unaware that the true nature of the infiltration was only beginning to unfold. Captain Morg regained consciousness with a throbbing pain at the base of his skull. The lighting was dim, and as his vision cleared, he realized he was in his own quarters. His hands were bound with the same energy restraints that had been used on the human prisoners. "Welcome back, Captain," said a familiar voice. Morg turned his head to see Alex Jones sitting comfortably in the captain's personal chair, legs crossed casually, as if this were a social visit rather than a hostage situation. "What have you done with my crew?" Morg demanded, his voice hoarse. "They are fine," Jones replied, waving a dismissive hand. "Well, most of them are fine. Commander Vex-9 put up quite a fight. He's sedated in the medical bay, but he will recover." Captain Morg struggled against his restraints, which only caused them to tighten uncomfortably. "If you think you can commandeer a coalition flagship with just 6 humans, you are even more delusional than your species' reputation suggests." Jones smiled a genuine expression of amusement that didn't match the tension of the situation. "Oh, I don't need 6 humans, Captain. I could have done this alone. The others are just here for verification and support." "Verification of what?" "Of who I am," Jones replied cryptically. He stood and walked to the small viewport that showed the endless expanse of space. "Tell me, Captain, what do you know about Project Chameleon?" Morg stiffened involuntarily. Project Chameleon was one of the most classified programs in Coalition history, a theoretical experiment in deep-cover infiltration that had been proposed 50 years ago but abandoned as too risky and ethically problematic. "That's above your security clearance," Morg replied automatically. Jones laughed. "I'm afraid you have that backward. Project Chameleon is above your security clearance, Captain. Or at least it was." He turned back to face Morg, and for a moment something shifted in his appearance, a subtle change that Morg couldn't quite define, but that sent a chill down his spine. "What are you?" Morg whispered. "That's a complicated question," Jones replied, sitting down again. "Biologically, I'm human mostly. Functionally, I'm something else entirely. A human spy with augmentations," Morg concluded. "That would explain the abilities my security team reported." "Not a spy," Jones corrected him, "and not augmentations either. More like a transfer." Before Morg could question this bizarre statement, the door to his quarters slid open, and Jack Turner entered, followed by Monica Patel. Both humans looked tense but determined. "The bridge is secured," Turner reported. "We have isolated the command systems and locked out all security overrides. The crew is contained in the mess hall and cargo bays, under guard." "Any resistance?" Jones asked. "Nothing significant," Patel replied. "Most of them are too confused to fight back. The few who tried are sleeping it off." "Good," Jones said with a nod. "Status of the communication systems?" "Still jammed, as per your instructions," Turner confirmed. "But we are getting automated distress signals from Coalition vessels across 3 sectors. Whatever you did to the network, it worked." Jones turned back to Captain Morg, who was listening to this exchange with growing alarm. "Do you understand what's happening yet, Captain? You have somehow disabled Coalition communications and taken control of my ship," Morg replied, his mind racing to connect the disparate pieces of information. "But I still don't understand why. Or how." "The how is fascinating but would take too long to explain," Jones said. "The why is simpler: verification and extraction." "Extraction of what?" "Of who," Jones corrected again. "Me." Monica Patel approached, holding a small device that Morg didn't recognize. "We need to be quick, sir. The Coalition will adapt to the communication disruption eventually." "Agreed," Jones replied. He fixed his gaze on Captain Morg. "I apologize for what's about to happen, Captain. It's going to be disorienting, but not painful if you don't resist." Patel placed the device against Morg's temple. It adhered to his skin with a cold, metallic kiss. "What are you doing?" Morg demanded, trying to pull away. "Waking you up," Jones replied enigmatically. The device activated with a soft hum, and Captain Morg's world exploded into kaleidoscopic chaos. Commander Vex-9 awoke to find himself strapped to a bed in the medical bay. His head felt as if it had been used as a percussion instrument by a particularly enthusiastic Jovian rock band. Nearby, Lieutenant Krill was similarly restrained, though still unconscious. The medical bay doors opened, and two of the humans entered: Tom Rivera and Peter Wilson, if Vex-9 recalled correctly. They were armed with Coalition weapons. "Look who's awake," Rivera remarked, approaching Vex-9's bed. "How's the head, Commander?" "I have had worse hangovers after a night of fermented nebula juice," Vex-9 replied, trying to sound more confident than he felt. "Though I usually don't wake up kidnapped by primates." Wilson chuckled. "You have got spirit. I will give you that." "What have you done with the captain?" Vex-9 demanded. "Captain Morg is having a chat with our leader," Rivera explained, checking the medical monitors. "A very enlightening chat, I imagine." "Your leader? You mean the fake cultural liaison?" The two humans exchanged meaningful glances. "Alex Jones is much more than a cultural liaison," Wilson said carefully, "and much less human than he appears." This cryptic statement hung in the air as the ship suddenly lurched, throwing the humans off balance. Warning klaxons began to sound throughout the vessel. "What was that?" Rivera asked, steadying himself against a medical cabinet. "Proximity alert," Vex-9 explained, unable to keep the satisfaction from his voice. "Looks like your little mutiny is about to be cut short. Coalition reinforcements must have arrived." Wilson activated his communication device. Wilson to Jones. "We have got company." The response came immediately, but it wasn't Jones's voice that replied. It was Captain Morg's. "This is Captain Morg. Status report." Vex-9's three eyes widened in shock. The captain's voice sounded wrong, flat, emotionless, like a perfect recording rather than a living being. "Sir," Wilson replied, seeming equally confused. "We have an incoming vessel. Proximity alerts are active." "Understood. Bring Commander Vex-9 to the bridge immediately." "Yes, sir," Wilson acknowledged, then looked at Rivera with a puzzled expression. "That wasn't part of the plan." "Plans change," Rivera replied, beginning to unfasten Vex-9's restraints. "But orders are orders." "You are making a mistake," Vex-9 warned as they helped him to his feet. "Whatever control you think you have over the captain won't last. And when it fails, I will personally ensure you spend the rest of your short lives in the most unpleasant detention facility the Coalition has to offer." "Your loyalty is commendable," Wilson said, almost sympathetically, "but misplaced." The bridge of the Eternal Vigilance was eerily quiet when Vex-9 arrived, escorted by the two armed humans. The regular bridge crew had been replaced by the remaining humans, with Darren Anderson at the navigation console and Monica Patel monitoring communications. Captain Morg stood at the center of the command platform, hands clasped behind his back, watching the main view screen where a Coalition patrol vessel was visible, approaching rapidly. "Commander Vex-9 as requested, sir," Wilson announced. Captain Morg turned and Vex-9 had to suppress a gasp. The captain's eyes were different, flat, almost glazed, with none of the sharp intelligence that usually characterized them. "Thank you, Wilson," Morg said mechanically. "Commander, we have a situation that requires your expertise." "My expertise?" Vex-9 repeated suspiciously. "What exactly do you think I'm going to help you with, Captain? Or should I even call you that, since you are clearly under their control?" Morg tilted his head at an unnaturally precise angle. "Your assumption is incorrect, Commander. I am not under control. I am awake." "Where's Jones?" Vex-9 demanded, looking around the bridge. "I want to speak to whoever's really in charge here." "I am in charge, Commander," Morg replied. "And Alex Jones no longer exists in the form you knew him." Before Vex-9 could process this bizarre statement, the communications console chimed. Monica Patel looked up from her station. "The patrol vessel is hailing us, Captain." "On screen," Morg ordered. The view screen shifted to show the face of a Dorsian officer, Captain Trex of the Coalition patrol ship Swift Justice. His reptilian features were set in an expression of concern. "Eternal vigilance. This is Captain Trex. We have been trying to contact you for the past 3 hours. What's your status?" Captain Morg stepped forward, his posture and mannerisms suddenly perfect, exactly as they had been before the humans' escape. "Captain Trex, this is Captain Morg. We experienced a cascade failure in our communication systems following an encounter with an unusual spatial phenomenon. We are conducting repairs now." Vex-9 stared in disbelief. The transformation was flawless. This was the Captain Morg he knew or appeared to be. "We detected weapons fire from your location approximately 2 hours ago," Trex said, his tone suspicious. "Is there something you are not telling us, Captain?" "A containment breach in one of our laboratories," Morg replied smoothly. "It's been resolved, but it did cause damage to several key systems. Nothing to be concerned about." Trex didn't look convinced. "Admiral Zorn has been trying to reach you regarding the human prisoners. He's most insistent that they be transferred immediately." "Yes, we received those orders before our communications went down," Morg said. "However, given the current system instabilities, I have decided to delay the transfer until we can ensure safe passage. I'm sure the Admiral would agree that losing the prisoners due to technical malfunctions would be unacceptable." Trex hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. "Very well, Captain. Do you require assistance with your repairs?" "Negative," Morg replied firmly. "We have the situation under control." "But your concern is appreciated, Captain Trex." "Understood. We will maintain position nearby until you are ready to proceed. Swift Justice out." As the communication ended, Vex-9 found himself being guided to a seat by the human security chief, Peter Wilson. "What did you do to him?" Vex-9 demanded, gesturing toward Captain Morg, who had resumed his unnaturally still posture. "We didn't do anything," Jack Turner replied from his position at the tactical station. "We just helped him remember." "Remember what?" "Who he really is?" Monica Patel said softly. Captain Morg turned to face Vex-9 directly. "This is confusing for you, Commander." "I understand that, but everything will become clear shortly." "Where is Alex Jones?" Vex-9 asked again, more forcefully this time. A strange smile spread across Captain Morg's face, an expression Vex-9 had never seen him make before. It was disturbingly human. "I am Alex Jones," Captain Morg said. "Or rather, Alex Jones was me." The next hour passed in a blur of activity as the humans, directed by the entity who claimed to be both Captain Morg and Alex Jones, worked to stabilize the ship's systems while maintaining the charade for the watching patrol vessel. Vex-9, no longer restrained but closely watched by Peter Wilson, tried to make sense of the impossible situation. His captain was speaking and acting like two different beings merged into one, sometimes the precise, formal Coalition officer he had served under for years, and other times displaying mannerisms and speech patterns that were distinctly human. Finally, when the bridge crew rotated for a brief rest period, Vex-9 found himself alone with the captain in the ready room adjacent to the bridge. "I demand an explanation," Vex-9 said bluntly. "What's happening here? What are you?" Captain Morg, or whoever he was, sat down at his desk and gestured for Vex-9 to take the seat opposite. "It's a long story, Commander. One that began 50 years ago with Project Chameleon. The Deep Cover Infiltration Program. That was its public classification, yes?" Morg replied. "But its true purpose was far more ambitious. Not infiltration transference. Transference of what? Consciousness," Morg said simply. "The project was designed to develop technology that would allow Coalition intelligence officers to transfer their consciousness into genetically engineered human bodies for the ultimate deep cover operations." Vex-9's skin paled to a light blue as the implications dawned on him. That's impossible. The ethical restrictions alone would have prevented it from ever being approved, Morg finished for him. "Which is why officially the project was abandoned. Unofficially, a small division within military intelligence continued the work in secret. And you were part of this secret division." "I was the first successful subject," Morg corrected him. "My consciousness was transferred into a human body, the one you knew as Alex Jones 20 Earth years ago. My mission was to infiltrate human society, gather intelligence, and report back." Vex-9 leaned back, his tentacles curling in distress. "But you are Captain Morg. I have served with you for 7 years. "Yes, you have," Morg agreed. "Because 10 years into my mission, I was extracted and my consciousness was transferred back into a cloned body of my original species, with certain modifications to ensure my continued loyalty. My memories of being human were suppressed, and I was given a new identity as a rising star in the Coalition fleet." "That's insane," Vex-9 whispered. "You expect me to believe that you have been living 2 lives?" "That Alex Jones was," Morg interrupted. "Was me. A part of me that was separated and contained within a human form, continuing the mission while the rest of me served as a Coalition captain. A failsafe, in case anything went wrong with either identity." "And what went wrong?" Vex-9 asked, trying to process this outlandish explanation. "Ethics," Morg replied with a wry smile. "During my time as a human, I learned things about them, experienced things that changed my perspective. I came to question the Coalition's policies regarding Earth and humanity. And somewhere along the way, I developed a conscience." "So you what? Decided to sabotage your own mission?" "Not exactly," Morg said, leaning forward. "I decided to complete it, but on my own terms. The Alex Jones identity was scheduled for extraction and termination. I couldn't allow that to happen, not when I knew what I knew." "Which is what, exactly?" Captain Morg's expression grew serious. "The Coalition is planning a preemptive strike against Earth, Commander. Admiral Zorn and his faction within military intelligence have convinced the High Council that humans represent an existential threat to Coalition species." "Don't they?" Vex-9 countered. "They are expanding rapidly, developing technologies that rival our own despite being centuries behind us in development. They are unpredictable, aggressive. They are adaptable," Morg corrected him. "Creative. Resilient. Yes, they can be aggressive when threatened, but they are also capable of remarkable compassion and growth. I know this because I lived among them. I was one of them. So this whole operation, capturing your own ship, was what? A rescue mission for your human self." "Partially," Morg admitted. "But also a mission to secure evidence of the planned attack and deliver it to both human authorities and Coalition moderates who would oppose such action. The humans you have met, Jack, Monica, and the others, they are part of a joint human Coalition resistance movement." Vex-9's eyes widened. "There are other Coalition species involved in this treason?" "It's not treason to prevent an unjust war," Morg replied firmly. "And yes, there are many within the Coalition who recognize that conflict with humanity would be devastating for both sides." "So what happens now?" Vex-9 asked, his voice strained. You have captured the ship, reunited with your other self. What's your plan? That depends partly on you, Commander Morg said, studying him carefully. The device that Monica used on me had restored my full memories, integrated both sets of experiences, and allowed me to become whole again. We could do the same for you. For me? Vex-9 recoiled. I don't have a human counterpart. No, but you have had certain memories suppressed, Morg explained gently. All senior officers do. It's standard procedure for those with knowledge of classified operations. And what would I remember if these supposed suppressions were removed? The truth about Project Chameleon, the planned attack on Earth, and your own involvement in the early stages of the project, before your ethical concerns led to your reassignment. Vex-9 stared at his captain in shock. I was part of this? A key part, Morg confirmed. Your expertise in xenobiology was crucial to the development of the compatible human bodies, but you argued against the project on ethical grounds, and your concerns were silenced. The door to the ready room slid open, and Monica Patel entered, holding the same device she had used on Captain Morg. We are ready when you are, Captain. Morg looked at Vex-9 questioningly. The choice is yours, Commander. Remember or remain in the dark. But know that your decision may determine the fate of billions, both human and coalition. Vex-9 looked from the device to his captain's face, searching for any sign of deception. Finding none, he slowly nodded. Do it. 3 days later, the Eternal Vigilance dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of a neutral system. The Coalition patrol ship Swift Justice had been left far behind after a series of carefully executed maneuvers that made it appear the flagship had suffered a catastrophic drive-at failure. On the bridge, Captain Morg and Commander Vex-9 stood side by side, watching as a small fleet of ships appeared on the long-range sensors, a mix of human vessels and ships bearing the markings of several Coalition member worlds. The Resistance fleet, Morg explained to the assembled bridge crew, a mixture of his original officers who had chosen to join their cause after learning the truth, and the human operatives who had helped orchestrate the daring plan. Representatives from 17 species, all committed to preventing war. And they believe we can succeed? Lieutenant Krill asked. She had been one of the first to have her suppressed memories restored and one of the most ardent converts to their cause afterward. But we have to, Vex-9 replied, his skin now a determined shade of deep purple. The evidence we have secured from the ship's classified databases is irrefutable. Admiral Zorn's faction has been planning this attack for years, manipulating intelligence, manufacturing incidents, all to justify a first strike against Earth. But will the High Council listen? Officer Ploon wondered aloud. They have trusted Zorn for decades. They will listen, Captain Morg said confidently. Because we are not just bringing evidence, we are bringing a living, breathing example of what cooperation between our species can achieve. He gestured to himself, and for a brief moment, those watching could almost see the overlay of two beings in one form, the Coalition captain and the human agent, now perfectly integrated into a single consciousness that understood both worlds intimately. I spent 20 years as a human, Morg continued. I lived among them, laughed with them, grieved with them. I experienced their art, their music, their passion for life. And I spent 10 years as a Coalition captain, upholding our values, protecting our interests, honoring our traditions. I am living proof that our differences need not divide us. Jack Turner approached from the communication station. The Resistance leadership is ready to receive us, Captain. Then let's not keep them waiting, Morg replied with a smile. We have a war to prevent and a future to build. As the Eternal Vigilance moved toward the waiting fleet, Commander Vex-9 turned to his captain. You know, when this is all over, assuming we are not executed for treason, you might consider writing a book about your experiences. The infiltration was perfect until they realized the human agent was their leader. Has a nice ring to it, don't you think? Captain Morg laughed, a sound that blended the formal, resonant tones of his Coalition voice with the warmer, more expressive qualities of his human experience. Perhaps I will, Commander. After all, the best stories are the ones that bridge worlds and change perspectives. And this one, I think, is just beginning. The massive Coalition flagship glided into formation with the diverse fleet of resistance vessels, a symbol of unity where division had once seemed inevitable. Above them, the stars shone with impartial brilliance, bearing witness to a moment that would reshape the relationship between humanity and the Galactic Coalition forever. The infiltration had indeed been perfect. But its purpose had transformed from conquest to connection, from deception to truth. And in that transformation lay the hope for a future where difference became strength, not weakness, a lesson learned by a being who had lived two lives and found value in both.